says that, for I have the scars on my body that show that I belong to Jesus. Now, a lot of times when we look at a scar, we see the pain, or we see what happened, or we ask the question, well, what happened to you there? Where did that scar come from? And whereas most see scars as a sign of trauma, God started to show it to me different. He says, Michael, the scar is not a sign of trauma, but it is a sign of the triumph that came in the midst. Okay, so preacher, what does that mean? Was that whatever it was that cut you, that hurt you, that scarred you up, it didn't take you out. You still got to live to be able to show the scar, and there's beauty in the scar. So when you're telling somebody your story about what you've been through, don't be afraid to show the scars that you've been doing, because again, when Paul mentioned that he had the scars, Paul is referencing the fact that he was beaten and almost killed on different occasions, so he's gotten beat up for Jesus sometimes. Now, I love a lot of y'all. I love a lot of y'all. And I know that spiritually I'm going to take some whoopings for y'all. But physically, I love y'all. But I don't know how many times I'm going to get beat up for y'all. But as long as I can show the scars, there's beauty in the scars. There's beauty in your story, that whatever you have gone through over your life, or whatever we go through as a church together, that yes, sometimes it's going to get a little rough. We may get some cuts, some bumps and bruises along the way trying to do this work, working along each other. But what God is showing me is that there's going to be beauty in the scar. So when we can talk about the fact of what hurt us, we can also talk about what healed us. So High Street, I think that it's appropriate in this way that, yes, the series has been titled, You've Got a Story to Tell. But I think that on today, if God were to change it, he would say that we've got a story that we're getting ready to tell. That we're not going to be in the same place now next year that we are now. It's not to say that we're in a bad place, but again, God is showing me that we are getting ready to grow. But understand this, our growth and what we do here may not look like somebody else's, but as long as it's pleasing to God, that is what is most important. Our growth may not look like everybody else. We may not do everything that every other church does, because we have to be a good, and Ms. Monica, you shared this word earlier, we have to be good stewards over what we have here and not worry about somebody else. Okay, God, I thank you, because that whole payday thing came back around. We can't worry about it. We can't count somebody else's pockets. We can't worry about what they're getting paid at their church or what their church is doing. We have to grow together here so that when other people come in, they can come into a place of stability and a foundation that allows for them to feel loved in here, but also know that this is a safe place for them whenever they walk in the doors. So it may look different than some other churches. It may sound a little different than other churches. But as long as we're doing what God wants us to do and what God is showing me, and as long as we follow along in the vision, as long as we are doing what is pleasing in God's sight, that is all that really matters. So High Street, I believe that we got a story to tell. That he's getting ready to author a new chapter here at High Street, and it's not just because of me, but we're going to work this together. We're going to get to work, and we're going to keep working. Even at times when we get a little beat up, we still going to work together so that we can see the reward of what God is wanting to do in this place. He's shown me that the place is going to be full. It may not happen next Sunday. It may not happen the Sunday after that. But there's going to be a point where there are going to be people that are going to walk in that had, and if we're going to be real on it today, and I promise you I'm about to get out the way. When I first started coming here, and I told somebody I was going to High Street, they were like, ooh, you going over there with them uppity folk. Oh, somebody else has heard that before. Oh, you going over there with them uppity folk. Ooh, they stuck up. much about it. But from the first time that I walked in, yes, I was a little nervous because, one, I was in a place that I hadn't stood before, but what I learned is that once I got around y'all weren't as stuck up as they say. Y'all are down to earth. Y'all are people. Let them tell it. They would have thought you were something else. But what God showed me from the time that I walked in, and I even got, and the craziest part about it was I even got defensive about y'all before even before we had this announcement made earlier of pastor-elect. There was somebody I was talking to, and I'll be respectful and not say any names, but he was like, "Oh, them people stuck up. I've known them for yada, 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 and how long?" And I was like, "No, they're not." I said, "Don't be talking about them like that." Don't be talking about the people over at High Street.